Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our Week 3 fantasy football starts and sits for the Thursday night football game between the Dolphins and the Jaguars. We're here to help you make all the right decisions so that you know who you should have in your lineup and who should be out of it. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow. Hey guys, welcome back. Today it's just me here at the Fantasy Football Upside Podcast. Justin is out again, but he should be back shortly. All right, so today we're going to be talking about a few things, but before we get into the starts and sits for the Thursday night football and our stashes and cuts, make sure that you check out our waiver wire episode that was dropped yesterday. It's got all the guys that you should be targeting, and you can check to see if anybody's on there. It's up in the corner right now, or it's down in the description below. You also want to make sure that if you have already watched that waiver wire episode and you've also already made all of your waiver requests and had them processed, make sure that you go back through and check who has been dropped, because sometimes people bail on guys too early. We're entering that part of the season where you might find a gem or two on somebody who's been dropped because somebody lost faith. You're not going to make that mistake, and you might be able to find somebody to open up a spot on your bench and drop them in and hang on for a little while and see if they turn it around. All right, so like I said before, we are hitting Week 3's Thursday night football game. This is the Dolphins and the Jaguars. This is, as Justin wrote in the notes here, he wrote a real ratings powerhouse matchup. And then we're also going to talk about our stash and cut segment. But before you do that, before we get in there, why don't you go ahead and click that like button. And if you're looking for this sort of fantasy football help throughout the entire season, make sure you hit that subscribe button, as well as clicking the bell so that you're notified every time we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. We want to help you guys get to that championship, and we'll be there with you the whole season long. All right. You can also comment below and ask us questions about who to start, who to sit, that sort of stuff. And if you want to check us out on Facebook, you can do that as well. I've got my Twitter handle. I'm sorry, I said Facebook, Twitter handle. I've got my Twitter handle down below. That's at Kyle _the upside. Justin's is at JW _ the upside. And then our general one for the channel itself is at FFB upside. All right, so let's dive in headfirst into the shallow end here on this Thursday night matchup. We got the Dolphins at the Jaguars. Let's run through the away team first here, guys. Let's talk about the Dolphins. So as far as QBs, we've got Ryan Fitzpatrick. You know what? I think right now he's a start. That Jaguars defense is ripe for the picking. There were a lot of drops in the Indianapolis game, or the game against Indianapolis. There were a lot of drops in that game. I know that TY had at least 3 drops, and it's just right now that team's not doing so great. I think that the Jaguars defense can be taken apart a little bit, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick might be able to do it. There is not a lot of firepower in that offense, though, and you got to sit all the running backs there. The only other starts are really just 2 starts, and that's Devontae Parker. But you got to keep an eye on him. He's been limited the last couple days in practice. Double check that he's actually going to start before you leave him in your lineup. He did make it into the Week 2 game, which was a bit surprising, and he did okay. But he's been kind of quiet for a while. I think what you can expect now is that over the next 4 weeks, if he can regain his health or at least come close to it, that he's going to be solid for you. He's going to have a breakout here over these next 4 games. Minshew should be doing the same thing as well, guys. We'll talk about him in just a second. But these next 4 games for the Florida teams look pretty nice. The only other start that I have, we're sitting Preston Williams right now. He's looking like a bust, like we called for him to be. The only other start is who we kind of think of as the wide receiver 2 on this team, and he's the tight end. It's Mike Gesicki. You can run out there probably and still pick him up off the waiver wire. He's hiding down there for some reason on a lot of leagues. But right now, he's really the wide receiver 2 on this team. And to kind of convey that point, Taysom Hill has actually run more routes as an inline tight end than Mike Gesicki has this season, guys. So he is lining up further out from the line than a normal tight end would when he is running routes. He's out in the slot, and they break him out even wider sometimes than that. All right, that's it for the Dolphins. Really, there's only 3 guys to consider there, and honestly, Fitzpatrick's probably more of like a super flex or 2 QB league. I've got him in a charity league right now, and he was on my bench. I'm going to be putting him into my super flex spot. because I think that he's raring to go right now. All right, moving on. We've got the home team Jaguars here. They've got Minshew, and like I said, these next 4 matchups for Minshew are sweet. They're going to be great. This is one of those games that you should have him. Look, he probably got picked up in your league. This is the week that he should have gotten picked up. He is no longer a streamer. He is now a QB1. You have to rely on him like one. He should have been drafted just like Baker Mayfield was drafted in a lot of leagues. He's a guy who will go get you points. So if you have him, you picked him up. If you picked him up, put him in your lineup. All right, another start that we've got here is James Robinson. Look, this is one of the only guys in the league that's getting anywhere close to 100% of the carries on his team. He got 100% on week 1, and he got just shy of 100% on week 2. That's going to be the case going forward. He stepped right into the shoes of Leonard Fournette, and he's getting a lot of work. Look, if you've managed to grab him, you should be starting him. I started him with confidence in week 2, and it paid off. He got just over 100 yards and a touchdown. So make sure that you put him out there. He's producing. He's getting a lot of carries. He's getting a decent number of targets, even with Chris Thompson there. But you're sitting Chris Thompson. We are cautiously going to start DJ Chark. We think that this is a week that he could finally wake up here. But look, if he doesn't wake up this week, I think that you've got to bench him and possibly start considering a cut. We're not going that far just yet. I think that's a bit of an overreaction. But if you have the space for him to sit him, this is not the best week just because he's not done anything. He's just not picked himself up and actually produced for you. The guy who is producing right now is Keelan Cole. He's doing pretty well. We've got him as a start right now, but mostly if you've been hit by an injury bug. He's a guy that you can drop right in and faithfully start and anticipate a decent bit of production out of him. The only other start that we have in this matchup is Tyler Eifert, and that's really if you're desperate at tight end. There's been a few injuries here and there. You know, George Kittle's now gone, and a couple other guys have been injured. So he's somebody that if you're a little bit desperate at tight end, you could go ahead and drop in. This is a decent matchup for him. We like him as a guy that you could pick up off the waiver wire right now as well and kind of stash and see what happens. Minshew is starting to expand his use of this offense, and it's starting to incorporate guys like Eifert a little bit better. And we look for him and DJ Chark to sort of wake up in this offense. All right, guys, that's it for the Thursday night football game. Hopefully, if you've got any of those guys, you're able to put them into your regular lineup spots. Do not leave them in your flex spot. You need to have the flex spot as open as possible so that if there's an injury later in the week, you have as many different positions that you can put into that spot as possible. All right, let's talk about our stash and cut, or cut and stash here. Let's talk about the cuts first. Guys that you can easily drop right off your team, and you'll be no worse for the wear. We've got a couple here that are pretty obvious, and then we've got one that's a little less obvious, I think. We've got Sony Michelle right off the top. He can be cut. This running attack is one guy. It's Cam Newton right now, and that's about it. Rex Burkhead's getting a little bit of work. Sony Michelle's not getting a whole lot. James White is getting some passing work. The guy that we're waiting on seeing what he can do is going to be Damien Harris. Harris, when he comes back from the IR here in the next week or two, he might step right out and start playing again. If I recall, he only had a hand injury that he had to have surgery for, so it's not a minor injury. But it should be something that does not limit his ability to come right back in and start getting running back one carries. Sony Michelle has not solidified his control over that position, so you can cut him. Another guy that you can cut, Mecole Hardman with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's just not providing enough value. If you've got a league that does have a lot of points available for a kick returner or a punt returner, then yeah, he's a little bit more valuable in those instances because he's the guy fielding those kicks, right? But in a regular league where that's not presenting much value, he's just not going to get you a whole lot here right now. He might blow up once or twice over the course of the season, but what we warned people about really late in the summer was that he had never handled more than 40 I believe it was either targets or catches in his entire career in any particular season. And that's not just in the NFL. That is also at college, guys. He never did anything like that. So you can't rely on him for anything. Sammy Watkins is doing okay. And Demarcus Robinson is also doing okay, but they're not reliable options as well. The volume in this offense goes to Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, as well as now Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and a little bit of, who's the other running back? There's one more. Comment down below and let me know. I'm slipping it right now. It's off the end of my tongue here. All right, the surprising cut right now for us is Emmanuel Sanders. We really liked Emmanuel Sanders going into this year, and unfortunately, we've kind of missed on that one. We thought that he would be able to step right into this offense and be a producer for you. Unfortunately, it appears that this offense is highly reliant on the efficiency of Michael Thomas. And without Michael Thomas fully healthy, Drew Brees is not doing very well. And without Drew Brees doing very well, everybody around them is struggling. Kamara's doing a little bit of work, but Emmanuel Sanders is not getting it done here, guys. The ball's just not going beyond 10 yards. And it's hard to be a producer in this league. If you're getting passes within 10 yards, you're in the thick of it there. So Emmanuel Sanders, as far as we are concerned right now, could be a cut. If you need to make room for some sort of pickup, you can go right there and drop him. All right, a couple guys to stash. We've just got two this week. One is Jeff Wilson, 49ers. He is less than 1% rostered over on Yahoo. I'm sure it's just as bad on other platforms. Right now with Raheem Mostert injured, Tevin Coleman injured, the 49ers are probably a little reluctant to give the reins over to Jerick McKinnon. He's got a huge injury history. And, yeah, we don't like to fade guys simply because of injury. But if you remember, he was in Minnesota. He had an injury history there. He's been they brought him into the 49ers, and their intention with him was to have him as that running back one. And he got injured, and then Mostert blew up. Breida blew up. They had Tevin Coleman sitting there. He's got a history of injury as well. This whole team is so injured, it is going to be rough. I'm concerned about that defense being as injured as it is now. Having this team fall into negative game scripts. And the problem for that is that Jimmy Garoppolo, who is also injured, if he's able to play, is not a huge downfield thrower. He can take shots, but he's not throwing the ball, 40, 50 times a game. That's just not the way that this offense is designed. And I think that they're going to have to do that. It's going to take them out of the normal game script that they like to run, which is heavy defense and lots of running attack. And it's going to put them into passing situations. Jeff Wilson is not necessarily the best guy for that. Jerick McKinnon would be. But Jeff Wilson is the more durable guy. And that's where we think you're going to be able to pick up some value. Not only that, they've always split carries in the 49ers since Kyle Shanahan's been there. He loves his running back by committee. And with Mostert out, I can't imagine him deciding he suddenly has a guy who's a bell cow. So Jeff Wilson will provide value for you, I think. The other guy that we're looking at right now is Curtis Samuel. He is currently available on about 73% of leagues in Yahoo. So he's only 27% rostered right now. You can go out and grab him pretty easily in about 3/4 of the leagues in Yahoo, and I'm sure it's about the same in other platforms. Curtis Samuel is primarily a wide receiver, right? But he's a direct beneficiary of Christian McCaffrey going out. And that is because this guy runs the ball as well. He is not just a pass catcher. He is also a guy who runs out of the backfield, lines up in the backfield, gets the handoff, and takes off. When I mentioned this in the waiver wire episode, and this is something you have to pay attention to. In college, in his senior year, he had nearly double the rushing yards to receiving yards, and it's not some minuscule number. It was 1,200 plus rushing yards to 700 plus pass catching yards, guys. So this is somebody who is capable of running. He's never had to because Christian McCaffrey has been on that team the whole time that he's been there. And nobody can blame that offense for deciding that Christian McCaffrey is a guy that you should go to all the time. But now that he's out, Curtis Samuel is going to present a little bit of value here. And we like him in that respect. He already saw some carries once Christian McCaffrey went out. So there is value there. There is evidence that he could produce something for you. And he's a quick, easy grab off of most waiver wires. And you might be able to make a move and trade for him if he is locked up in another league. And you don't have to spend a whole lot for him. But now's the time for that to happen, because if they do decide to start giving him upwards of 10 carries in a week, this is a guy who could produce for you, and it could have the owner of Curtis Samuel deciding, hey, I caught gold. All right, guys, that's going to be it for our episode tonight. Hopefully this helps you out with your Thursday night football game. Like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and put on the screen the waiver wire episode so that you can click through that. Make sure you click subscribe as well as the bell so you're notified every time we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. We thank you guys for being fans of the upside, and we'll see you next time. Bye.